Pat's on vacation again, thus the weird curtain.
I mean, not really, DB.
Yeah, but you're smirking. You know it's true. You know it's true. You're at a Ritz on the beach.
Well, I mean, yes. The correct answer would be yes there, but I'm just a +1, DB. I mean, sometimes you got to be a +1. I'm a +1 for the wife as she has a nice conference here. So sometimes you just get the perks of that. Okay.
Yeah. All your flexes too. You've got your sailboat landings logo on your hat and your Congaree
Well,
shirt.
look at you. It's not like you don't have your clubs, written all out on your hat. So I mean, come on.
Oh dear. Hey, look, it's the next couple weeks, it's kind of the dog days of summer for the PGA Tour. We got the Rocket Mortgage this week, as I already mentioned. The field is garbage. We've got the John Deere Classic next week, probably garbager. That's the word we just made up. And because we're getting ready. We got the Scottish Open in a few weeks, which I'm excited about. The week before the Open Championship, the season's final major. I'm pumped about that. Then the playoffs will be here before you know it. So it's crazy. But so we got to suffer through a couple of tough events. Although, from a betting standpoint, from a handicapping standpoint, definitely gives me some hope that we could have a long shot winner here. Some long shot, maybe finish position bets, first round leader bets, whatever. We'll get to that in the last segment. We've also got a special guest coming on today. You know him as GS Luke, or maybe you don't know him, but you should. GS Luke, DFS on Twitter and YouTube. He's I really think he's. I kind of got to know him in the Discord for a props site Discord we used to be in, and he's good with the props. So I want to talk to GS Luke about just general, prize picks and underdog kind of props strategy and game theory, and then get his takes on this week for the Rocket Mortgage. But let's recap the Travelers, Pat. Keegan Bradley takes it down.
Yeah, old Keegan, man. I tell you what, we missed another one, DB.
Yeah,
and you love the geographical narrative, and that's all we had with Keegan. Really, a lot of geography there. He's a hometown boy, quote unquote. It's his favorite event, and he goes out and wins it by 3 strokes. Could have really been more than that. He kind of struggled a little bit down the stretch, but it didn't matter. I mean, he had a 5 or 6 shot lead going into the back 9. So it was a great tournament for Keegan. I had him first round leader, and it didn't work out. My hopes and dreams were destroyed by Denny McCarthy on Thursday. And I believe,
my card.
Yeah, he also destroyed your hopes and dreams for the entire golf tournament. So
it seems anywhere where they might like a chowder, they fancy a chowder. Keegan is live, no matter no matter the strokes gained approach numbers or putting numbers or whatever coming in, he's live. And hometown kid apparently. And he even made a remark about that after he won. I think we have the video of that we could roll.
This is for all the kids that grew up in New England, got to sit through the winters and watch other people play golf. And I just am so proud to win this tournament. Travelers and everybody involved puts on a first-class tournament. It's been like this for a decade, and I'm just so proud to be the winner here.
Kids love the kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming from Keegan. I don't know. Is he allowed to just take a whole region of the country and just stake his claim? Is he playing Risk, and he's just gonna stake his claim on this part of the Northeast and basically say this is Keegan Town? And
apparently,
Max Homa, you're not gonna come up into my backyard that's 13 states big and push me around because I'm Keegan. I'm Keegan Bradley. I'm wicked good from the Northeast.
Well, I mean, who else is from the area, DB? Now,
Mark Wahlberg.
No, a golfer.
Oh,
has not shown us anything lately, and you know who I'm talking about because you've definitely soured on him. But Cam Young is from this area as well.
Yeah.
Now, are they going to battle it out? Like, is there going to be a fight, like a Keegan versus Cam fight, and then they just see who takes over the territory? Kind of like Risk, they're going to get into they're going to build up their armies.
Where were they playing when Keegan and Miguel Angel Jimenez got into it a long time ago? Remember that? Remember when?
Yeah, that was the match play, and I believe that was in Texas.
Okay.
I don't know if that was when they changed the course to Austin Country Club or wherever they were, but
no, I don't think they were playing in Austin then.
Was that when it was in Phoenix?
I don't know. I was just wondering if maybe Miguel said something to the effect of, you're not really a dog killer from the Northeast.
Yeah.
You're kind of
soft. Can't have that territory.
Yeah. And what if Keegan was like, man, F you, I'm wicked good and I'll kick your ass, So anyway, Keegan won. We missed it. I hit Keegan winning in the fall. I think it was, we talked about it a little bit on the show. It isn't, from a handicapping standpoint, I think the one thing to remember, and I think we remember this from time to time, but sometimes it's events like this that helps really jog the memory and drive it home and have your eyes peeled for more opportunities like it. Keegan had really improved putting, which is he's not been a good putter since they took the broomstick stuff away. He had really been bad, and over the last few tournaments, he's been very good putting. But the approach play, which is what he has made his money on, which is, what he's hung his hat on for so long, is the ball striking. Keegan has always been consistently a very good ball striker, iron player. But that had been kind of suffering. And we were in our Discord chat Wednesday night, and a couple of sharp Discord members in the Nut Hut community brought up his name late in the chat, said, he keeps showing up on, I keep seeing his name, and he's kind of been overlooked. Nobody's really talking about him. He's not on a lot of betting cards, not very popular in DFS, but A, he can smell the chowder. So we're in the Northeast. B, he's finally doing this thing in putting really well that we've all been waiting on him to do. And the thing that is his baseline that we all would say he could do in his sleep, he's not played well on. What happens if all of a sudden he smells the chowder and figures out, whatever he gets, the chowder hits the nostrils and jogs the synapse in his brain to give him the right iron feel necessary to get the irons back in line, snap it back into place, and then he's cooking. And that's what he did. He gained 7 strokes on approach, and he gained 7 strokes putting, which is insane. Honestly, if Keegan, we might need to be on the lookout, because if Keegan has really figured out the putter, and this is like a long-term thing where he's going to be a good putter, he could hurt some feelings on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, he could. I mean, Keegan's always had the game. He's shown up in a lot of different, doesn't have a ton of wins, but again, he has certainly contended plenty, and obviously has a major championship, which some may forget about, but he does have one. So yeah, I agree. And actually, you kind of allude a little bit to my Just the Tip later on, DB, by your thoughts on Keegan and what he's been doing lately. So,
I mean, a free Just the Tip right here, a pre-tip, says Tony, is if I ever win anything, don't give my kids a trophy. I did not like that move. I thought the move, I said it on our show, one of our shows, and I put a video up on Instagram. If you and I go out in September and we win the Champions Retreat member guest, and my kids and my wife are around the green during the shootout, the Champions Retreat damn near better not be bringing no trophies out to my kids. Can
you think of that clip? If we had that clip of them bringing out the trophy, and then all of for the kids, and all of a sudden you come out of nowhere, tackle the trophy guy, saying, "No, you're not giving my kids the trophy. They didn't earn this."
Commissioner Cameron, Cameron, get that out of good. Get it over there. Give it to somebody else.
That would be great for the show. Let's see if I might actually have them. We have to script out a win for us, which, I mean,
the winning would be the hard part. But I unacceptable. You don't get a trophy for being cute in life. and you don't get a trophy because daddy wins something and busted his butt for years so that he could, put Cheerios on your high chair. You don't get to have a trophy for that. So I thought that was BS from the people at Travelers. They should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah.
I guarantee you some like 25-year-old like kind of PR girl or marketing girl from Travelers thought that was a great idea. She brought that up and she sold that easily because they're so cute. The kids are so cute. They've been here all week. He's been hugging them outside the ropes and in the ropes. We should go make him a trophy. I'll get in the car. I'll drive down to the trophy thing and we'll get a trophy made. Terrible.
What are you gonna think if this becomes a thing, like every week? Like,
no,
they have the side trophies for they know whoever the winner is. If they know they've got kids, they just have them every week.
Isn't the Rocket Mortgage this week? Isn't it that big stupid circle thing with the T? So isn't it that huge circle? Or am I thinking of something else?
It should be a rocket ship, is what I think.
Why wouldn't it be a rocket ship? Why wouldn't it be?
They don't ask us.
Like
they're bringing out kid stuff.
A house rocket ship combo. Like a rocket ship with shutters and windows and architectural shingles. That would be cool. I think they should do that instead of the big. I think they do like a circle with a T in the middle of it or something. But maybe I'm thinking of the Zozo. Isn't it the Zozo that has the huge circle?
Like that one's. Yeah.
Okay,
there you go.
That one's not bad. There's the Zozo. I think has the massive circle. I think Tiger won. It looks like a Dyson bladeless fan.
And Keegan won that, didn't he?
Yeah, he won the Zozo.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Also, this week at the Travelers, Zach Blair finished runner-up. And some of you might be going, who?
The golf course designer?
Yeah. Zach Blair, T2, shot a 62 on Sunday. I mean, obviously, it was a golf course he had to make hay, and he's playing on major medical exemptions, coming back from injury and / golf course designing. He had some things to say about it. I think he enjoyed himself. Let's listen to Zach Blair.
They went from, playing 18 or 36 holes every day for, the last 7-8 years to, not touching a club for 5, 6, 7 months. It was cool though. I got to hang out with my family and build a golf course and do a lot of other fun stuff. But it's obviously cooler to shoot 62 on Sunday. Cool. Yeah, thanks.
I love the finish. Cool. All right. And by the way, have you ever seen anybody with 3 logos that you have zero clue what one of them is? Like, I have no clue what any of those logos were for. None of them.
I didn't even pay attention. That was a very awkward ending to that interview. Also, did anyone catch the fact that he said, "Yeah, it was really fun to hang out with my family for 5 or 6 months, but it was way better to shoot 62 in professional golf with my family at home. That was way better." Yeah,
good for Zach.
The quiet part out loud, homie. Like your wife's not gonna love that one. I mean, I get it. She's making $1.5 million. I'm sure she'll probably get over it, but I don't know. Like. That was interesting, and the ending was definitely interesting. Zach, I think Zach's kind of an awkward dude.
He is, but he seems to have somewhat of a following. I mean,
he's got all the diehard architectural nerd followers.
He does, but I mean,
you get gassed up about chocolate drops around the green, and Barranca and turtleback greens.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be somewhat impressed though that Zach Blair can come out after that much of a layoff and then go out and shoot 62, finish second. He's all but locked up his card for another year. I mean, it is a little bit impressive. Now, there's been some thought about this golf course being, a little bit too easy, but like, I don't care. I mean, it's still pretty good to shoot 62. That actually was his lowest round ever on the PGA Tour. I noticed that. So.
Yikes. Wow, that's incredible. Speaking of the golf course being easy, so Rory, you're alluding maybe to Rory's comments, who, in true, Rory Bay fashion, just not finishing anywhere near kind of sniffing the lead. I mean, I guess 18 under, sure, but he shot 6 under on Sunday when he was out of the conversation, really. But on his way out, gives a parting shot to TPC River Highlands and says, basically, the technology has advanced too far, and the golf course doesn't hold up to the professional game anymore. I don't like the comment. I think Rory's carrying the water that he's wanted to carry since he came out on the ball rollback thing and said he was in favor of it. He's just trying to continue, pressing that issue. I mean, but like, these guys would be complaining if they were playing the Memorial the week after the US Open, because they'd be like, well, we just played 4 days of the hardest test in golf, and then we come here to the Memorial and got to get our dicks kicked in even more, because I don't feel like he would have been happy. I guess he would have been happy when he scores 18 under and he was there. But 23, God no. He can't handle how easy it is. But TPC River Highlands has shown a little bit of teeth at times when if it's a little windy and the golf course can play firm and fast.
Yeah, I mean, me, I'm a huge Rory fan. And that's probably never going to change. You're always kind of a fan of who you're a fan of. But I actually agree. I think that it was a very whiny type statement. I think there is some validity to what he's saying in general when you think on any course, not necessarily just this one, but when they're able to hit just bombs off the tee, they're hitting 80, 70-yard shots in the par fours. I mean, there is some validity to that. I don't know what you do. I don't know. And I think Rory just kind of he carried this torch for the LIV, the PGA Tour versus LIV thing, and then he kind of got, the tour just sort of slapped him in the face with that. And then, so why don't he just be quiet now? I thought that's what he was going to do, just kind of be quiet. I know he has a hard time. I do appreciate that he says what's on his mind. He does not sugarcoat things very much.
That. I agree with that.
And I appreciate that he does that. But I kind of thought he was just going to be quiet for a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what I was. So that's really what it boils down to me. Just be quiet, Rory, and go play and win a golf tournament. And then come back and talk.
Speaking of the PGA Tour LIV thing, before we get to our guest in the next block here, contract kind of leaked last night on the PGA and LIV
framework agreement. DB
framework agreement. I'm sorry. We've got some bullet points here quickly. It says not a lot, but anyway. Future of the actual LIV tour kind of is uncertain, I guess we could say that. $2 to $3 billion coming from the PIF. PGA Tour valuation needs to happen. That's going to be interesting. Future of LIV to be determined by the new company's board and the PGA Tour. Review will take into account 1 year of data-driven and overseen by Jay Monahan. Yeah, I mean, Jay Monahan, CEO of the new company or overarching, I don't know, head there. I don't know.
Well, a lot that was said was what really Jimmy Dunn kind of already said in some way on that. I think it was the SI.com article. And one thing I noticed in here is Jimmy Dunn is going to be on the executive board or whatever of this new entity. But I think one thing you notice too is that the PGA Tour is mentioned as a controlling entity a lot. Like that word, I feel like it came up a lot. Like who's kind of in control is what I was trying to pay attention to. And there are a lot of ways the tour is, with the PIF being a lot of the money behind it. Now, in general, probably the money tends to control most things.
Yeah.
But it does seem like when you read the agreement, the tour definitely has a say-so in what's going to happen, whether it's with LIV and whatever else. I think there's still a lot that we don't know, even from this framework agreement. But it does feel like LIV is at least going to exist for another year or maybe two while they kind of evaluate things.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. I also tweeted a quick little phrase that I noticed in reading that says they would work to evaluate integrating team golf into the PGA and DP World Tour. I found that kind of interesting. And there's, you can get people really spiced up. You can get golf fans real hot and bothered.
Yeah.
On the team golf concept when you bring it up. Everybody admits they love the Ryder Cup. Okay, everybody gets that. A lot of people don't think the team thing is panned out on Live, but you can get some folks riled up. With the team aspect. Nobody watches the Zurich because it just doesn't feel. I don't know. I think there is a way to have another, maybe one or maybe two additional like PGA Tour team events a year. I think it's possible to do it and do it well. But I think it would have to be under the right parameters during the right weeks and time of the year and all that stuff. But like I tweeted out yesterday, like, I would love to see the South Koreans team up and just. I think it should be kind of a nationality thing. I mean, that's kind of what's happened with some of the teams on Live. It's kind of that way, but I think it needs to be either that or really nothing. I mean, I really think these guys want to play with their countrymen and make their country proud. Similar to, I guess, what we see at the Olympics every so often, right? But that South Korean, the South Koreans get to put a team together. Get Siwoo and Tom Kim and Sung Jae and Ben-On, Kate Lee and the gang together, kicking butt. I just think that would be cool.
But I mean, I know I am an old school PGA Tour guy, but I have a pretty open mind to the team thing. Like I actually feel like the whole idea of having teams like a franchise has some potential merit to it. Yeah. Can you imagine the TJ team? We have a TJ sponsored team. It becomes a franchise.
Oh, you mean
like players that we want to have on our team. I mean, we might could recruit a team for that. We got to think about that, DB.
We'd have to have
who would be on the TJ team?
We'd have to have money. I mean,
we'd have to get a lot of cheap players. We'd be like the Oakland Athletics, Moneyball, the
Moneyball team. Well, a lot of them are playing in the field this week for the Rocket Mortgage Classic. So we'll talk about those guys. All right, we got to take a quick break. Coming back, we're going to have our boy GS Luke on the show, talking about some props, talking about process, some game theory stuff, and then we're going to get to the Rocket Mortgage Classic. So stay right here on the Tour Junkies Golf Show on the Better Sports Network.
Patrick Kane, the longtime Chicago Blackhawk, who was traded from Chicago to the New York Rangers this year, set up for free agency. But news came yesterday that he has now had hip surgery at the age of 34, and he is going to be out for 4 to 6 months. Now,
Javersack it is, so it's out there. I wrote a book, so it's on the front cover, so it's not like I'm doxing myself. But yeah, Luke Javersack.
Nice. Well, thanks for being on. We appreciate it. I kind of started getting to know you a little bit and having some interaction with you in a Discord on Prize Picks back in the day, and I always appreciated your analysis over there, as well as your willingness to tell Prize Picks hey, you guys are being asshats right now.
Yeah, they didn't like that.
No, Luke was looking out for the people, man, which is what we love to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to start off. We could talk a little bit about Rocket Mortgage, but just in general, I think it feels like I know you talk about DFS a good bit, but it feels like you've really carved a niche in the props market. Prize Picks, Underdog, I would guess those would be the two most popular spots. Would you agree? And I guess just tell us a little bit more about what you're doing on a weekly basis.
For sure. Yeah. Props were always something that, I always heard about. I never really dabbled in because they didn't have many prop sites available for golf. And all of a sudden I kept hearing my buddies saying like, oh, these prop sites are fun. Like, I feel they kept saying it was a more sustainable form of DFS, where instead of having like real big swings like you have on some of the other sites week to week, kind of go out there, maybe double up your money every single week. Maybe you lose a couple units, but it's usually nothing like catastrophic, right? And it's like 3-4 leg cards. So like it took me a while to get into it, but I started playing a little bit on Prize Picks, and the edge is there. I'll just say that much. Like, you're not always going to get a perfect board. It's not always going to be a ton of value, but I'd say once every couple of weeks, you're handed a board that's it's almost like a gimme sometimes, where like you can take all props of the same direction, and I feel like that's where you make your money over there. So if you can correlate cards, which I know you guys, I'm not sure if you're partnered with Underdog or not. I feel like they might be one of the better sites to play for golf DFS, because you don't get any sort of multipliers there. You can play like all props of the same direction, and then get the same kind of payout that you would on most of the other sites for other sports. Unfortunately, like, I know Prize Picks is one of the sites that does it. I know there's a few other sites that also lower your payout if you correlate it. You can't really take advantage of that. So that's kind of what got me into it, is I had a few buddies that were having a lot of success with it. And then, ever since then, it's morphed a whole lot. Like, in the beginning, it was just like, oh, this guy looks like he's low on birdies. Now it's a calculated model type of process that luckily, with the help of some of my people, we've automated a lot of it. So it's been a lot easier over the last few months.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I think when you started expressing some frustration with Prize Picks about some of the payout structures and some of the rules they were throwing out, and how, they had kind of taken some of the well-known payouts in golf and dropped them significantly, I started also voicing my opinion, and then we bounced. So, I mean, definitely enjoy taking advantage of the numbers they lay over there on certain players, but Underdog as well. Like you said, you can put in the same amount of picks, whether they're correlated or not, and what that multiplier is going to be. So, are there any other sites, or are those two kind of your main sites when it comes to PGA prop stuff?
Yeah, that'd be the two main for me. I do play a little bit on No House Advantage. They're really quick to limit players, but if you can get some action over there, it's the same, if not a little bit of a better board of what you'll get on Prize Picks.
Nice.
And then Jock Market, I've only just started to dabble on that end, but they're starting to post some props over there. I know a lot of like made cut props that they're posting, which kind of interesting, because there's markets that you can compare them to.
Yeah.
It's not even like you have to calculate your own made cut percentages. Just go to these sports books odds checker, see what they got Callum Turan at for a made cut, and then move from there.
Luke, what do you think? I mean, for me, when I'm always looking at these, I always kind of struggle with really kind of a strategy that I can use. And so, like, what are your two or three favorite strategies before we kind of get into picks this week? Like, especially like when you think of, I'm always like, do I need to go 3, 4, 5 picks? Like, what is sort of the sweet spot for how many picks you should make for the best return and really the best, win percentage?
Yeah. So I think it's kind of personal, but I'm kind of a wimp. I do a lot of 2-mans, especially on Underdog. I'm like all about 2-mans. I'll take like 20 props and I'll just mix and match them like 40 cards sometimes. Sometimes it gets a little outrageous. It takes me an hour sometimes to enter all the combinations that I'm doing. You have to be real nitpicky about it, like track all the different combinations, how much you've played everything. But to me, 2-man power plays, it's more sustainable, right? Like your big days, you might not be like 10, 20x like you see for some other cappers out there, but your bad days are also going to be a lot more sustainable too, right? You might be losing like half your bankroll that you entered at any given day, rather than going out there a lot of times striking out for 0, let's say for 10 units wagered. So I'm a lot about 2-man cards. If I do anything bigger than that, it's usually like 5-man cards. especially on Prize Picks. If you're going to take advantage of the multiplier, you can get larger payouts on some of those like 5-6 man cards. So I feel like Prize Picks is good, especially for like those lottery type of slips where maybe you correlate 3 of the picks, you counter correlate 2 of the other ones, and get, sometimes it's like 14.5x for a 5 leg. Sometimes you can get like 30x. I think you might even get above 30x for a few of those 6 leg cards over there. It's kind of a good mix, but it's a lot of 2-mans, especially like when I'm putting more units behind my bets. Like if I'm betting, Underdog will let me bet a $250 unit size. Like I'll 2-man cards for the most part. I'm not gonna, usually don't go the 4 or 5 man route unless I'm really feeling it.
Gotcha. And if people don't know this, those 2-man cards are basically doubling up what you're putting in. And that's one thing to know too. If you're playing on some of these sites, sometimes they'll say 3x and it's not actually tripling your money. So that's something to pay attention to.
Yep.
All right, so in terms of golf, like Underdog and Prize Picks, they offer some of the same sort of props, and then they offer some different ones. I would say Prize Picks definitely offers a little more unique offerings in terms of what they do. Underdog's pretty set on like stroke over-unders, birdie over-unders, bogey over-unders. That's about it. Sometimes for majors or big tournaments, they'll get a little bit different. Prize Picks, you got green and regs. Sometimes fairways hit. Sometimes made, like basically a made cut prop or not. So, what are some of your? Do you have like the favorite? Which one of those that you like to hit every week, or on one side more than the other, or does it just kind of depend on the value? Obviously.
So a lot of it depends on the value. But I've noticed that for round 1 on Prize Picks, when you have those fairway, those green and regulation options, oftentimes there's a severe misprice. And kind of to start talking about the process end, which I think kind of might be able to help a lot of people out there, is I'm always looking to calculate a field average. So, looking at past data, Data Golf, a bunch of other, databases out there, all of them, right, have this sort of data out there, is figuring out what's happened the last 4 or 5 years, and then looking at the weather coming into the event and figuring whether it's going to have a huge impact. Talking about the Rocket Mortgage this week, it's been real damp in the area. They got rain on Sunday, rain on Monday. It's supposed to potentially rain a little bit tonight in the area. It's likely going to play even softer than what you've seen. So we can take the averages from the last, whatever sample size you want to go with. I usually do like 4 years, especially because there's 4 years for this event. Yep. And then I'll probably make it even easier. So the green and regulation average, for example, is like 71.8%. Probably bump that up a solid 2, maybe 3%. Driving accuracy percentage was just over 62%. You probably bump that up even maybe like 3-4%. You're going to see significantly easier conditions than I would expect. And if Prize Picks isn't accounting for that, that's something that I'll probably try and take advantage of. And a lot of times it's not that it's easier to hit fairways or greens. Sometimes it'll be like real firm in the area, and maybe they'll be overpricing the board. It's dependent, I would say, event by event, but I've noticed that especially for round 1, when maybe they get caught a little bit off guard, just relying too much on the field averages.
Nice. Do you think so what's your process for evaluating like birdie or better totals, bogey or worse totals on Underdog? And I guess similarly strokes, like sometimes looking at those can be interesting. So what's your process for figuring out whether or not you want to jump on one of those?
Yeah, similar. So I like to start with the average. That's the way that I like to start my analysis. I feel like it gives me a good like reference point when I know where like the field's going to be at on these numbers. So same kind of thing. You can find those birdie averages from numerous of those databases, even from just like raw scorecard data. You download it into a spreadsheet, you can do it rather quickly. But what I like to do with that is find the field average and then know that the guys on Prize Picks and Underdog are way better than the field average. So you're going to have to account for that. So this week, like there's a 4.08 birdie per round average. That means that these elite tier studs, that's at least 4.5. And I would say like the Tony Finau's, Morikawa's, all those sort of players probably at a 5+ birdie average per round. So that's where I like to start. I like to figure out where the field average is going to be. Strokes wise, it's the same thing. Average last year was like 1.6 under par. These elite tier guys, you're thinking at least 2 under par. The thing that's great about strokes is that we have the shots gained total metrics. So if you take a look at a player's baseline and you kind of get an idea for what they're gaining per round total, you can take that add or subtract it to the field average, you've got a really good strokes projection for a player. So like it depends on each category. That one I think is the most straightforward. It's not perfect, right? It's an average, right? It's a median. Guys are going to fluctuate around that, but it gives you a good reference point. If it's like 2 strokes off the projection, then it's probably a really good bet to take, you know, wherever those 2 strokes are leaning. So that's my main process. Birdies are a little bit harder to take apart. I would say the morning conditions always are going to help you with props. So that's a huge thing I incorporate too, is if a player's in the AM wave and they're going to have better conditions, I try to account for that too. So it's a ever-changing game. It feels like there's too many factors to even account for when you're trying to put together projections. So that's why I like to take that average approach. Just kind of like get an idea where like the center number for the field is going to be, and then it's easier that way for me.
Lots of variable factors. Welcome to golf, right? I mean,
exactly. Like if you're putting together a model, like it's like 20 factors a week at this point.
Yeah.
Like you got crazy stats out there that I never knew even existed. People are making up new stats every other week.
Well, any, I know I'm sure you got a lot that you've looked at, but any in particular players or plays stand out to you so far this week?
Yeah, so a lot of the early plays I took on Underdog were overs for strokes. So they've actually started to adjust the board. So I'm actually taking a peek at it right now significantly. So you had guys like Ricky that opened the week at 67.5. Now he's up there to 68.5. So they've started to adjust for it, but this is an easy course, right? 1.6 under par scoring average, but it felt like Underdog may have either forgotten that it was a par 72 or is like really giving these players too much credit, because like Tony Finau even opened at 67 strokes. If he's even going to push that projection, I mean, he has to go out there and he has to gain 3.5 strokes to the field, which I think when you start to look at it like that, it gets really hard to try and take an under for somebody that was at 67 strokes. As is, I'm hoping that we get a prize picks board here. I want to take overs for birdies because I feel like these strokes lines on Underdog have kind of adjusted at this point. A lot of the guys at 5 birdies, I think we're probably going to see it 4.5 on prize picks. So I think if you're going to take any positive stance, it's an over on birdies. This course has the 4 par 5s. It's got, I would say, 2 borderline drivable par 4s.
Mm-hmm.
If that feels like the best value to be had out there. So birdies for me. I hope that maybe we get some extra options on Underdog here soon, where we can take guys at 4.5. 5, it's not like it's impossible. Just, you know, I'd rather guys be hitting at 5 rather than pushing.
It does seem like with prize picks and Underdog in the props PGA game, there is, you know, you can win a lot more if Thursday starts and you've got a ton of closing line value, meaning you probably hammered the props when they first came out, and there may have been some issues, right? And then the market adjusted, right? Everybody fired on that same side, and the book, and price picks, and I realized, crap, we made a mistake, and they moved it back to what it should have been, and now nobody's taking it. So I definitely think that hitting those early is interesting for sure. One thing I've always thought about with prop sites, and we'll let you go here in a couple of minutes, but like I always feel like, you know, guys who are betting on this, they want the good thing to happen. Right. They want Ricky to make 5 birdies. They want Ricky to shoot a 68. So they're likely going to lean to the lower than 68 and the more than 5 birdies because that's what they want. They want to play guys that they're cheering for. And the books realize this. So like, I'm sure it's not a stroke or a birdie difference, but it could be like a fractional difference. Do you agree with that?
100%. And I think Underdog kind of pushes the limit on that sometimes. Like they'll put guys at like 6 birdies. I think they had Scotty at like 65 strokes. The final round last week. I mean, that's pretty wild. Yeah. So yeah, I think there's definitely a little bit of bias that goes in. And I think a lot of people just want to jam in positive stances. They're like, you know what? Yeah, I want to cheer a guy on. Like you said, watch him make 5, 6 birdies. And I took a lot of fades for this golf tournament to this point. I think all fades to this point. And it's tough to even like watch the golf because you're like, you don't want to root for their downfall, but at the same time, your wallet does. Your wallet wants them to go out there, maybe just shoot 3 under par, right? Not too bad, not too horrible, but definitely over those strokes. Props.
That's why nobody bets the unders in NFL. Nobody wants to see no touchdowns, right?
Yeah,
especially because it's like 50 yards for a running back. You're like, oh, that's so easy. And then you realize that could just be game scripted out.
Yeah.
They could be behind 2 touchdowns in the second quarter.
Yeah.
For president or something? Is this a campaign?
No, it does sound like that, doesn't it? But I know we like to look at we like to look at recent form. We like to look at course history, that kind of thing, course fit. Ches Reavie at Travelers last week, right? So that's one thing when I'm talking about looking back to progress forward. But look, one thing that you've kind of, I'm going to give you credit. You've talked about this the last 2 shows we've done, looking at what's worked in the past for DFS, or what worked that week for a lineup that maybe you need to, bring into your process. We can't always just go week to week and never look back to see what's happened in the past. What lineup the last year that they played in this golf tournament was the best lineup? What was the optimal lineup that they had? What was, were they leaving cash on the table? Sometimes I think in a weaker event like you have this week, you can leave a little bit of cash on the table. You may not want to do that in majors, but if you go back and look, do a little bit of research, figure out what worked last year, or like Luke was just saying, looking at averages from previous years when you're looking at some of these prop plays. What was the birdie average? What is the, the scoring averages per day, that kind of stuff. I think that can give you a lot to help you with that week in the present. So one of the main things I think you got to do is just let's look back to progress forward, DB.
Did you see my research about last year's Rocket Mortgage in our Discord, and that made you think of that?
I think, well, I saw you post the last 2 caddy info that we have. I don't know if I've been in there since that point. So I was going to actually throw it to you to add on to that, which you can do right now.
Well, I posted last year's 2022 perfect Rocket Mortgage lineup. And it would have left $700 on the table in DraftKings. And it would have totaled around 70% total ownership. You would have had Finau, Pendrith, Cantlay, or Cam Young, Stefan Jaeger, Taylor Moore, and JJ Spawn. Jaeger, Moore, and Spawn were all 6K players.
Yeah. See?
So you had two 10K players with Finau and Cantlay or Young, and then you had Pendrith in the 7s and Jaeger, Moore, and Spawn were all in the 6K range. So and a little bit like what we talked about on the show Monday night. Last year's perfect lineup kind of backs me up on this. On our show, I said I really wanted to just like find my 2 or 3 guys up top in the 9 and 10K range this week, and hammer, like, have them in every lineup, and then sprinkle in these randos in the 7 and 6K range. Well, that's what worked last year because Finau was chalk. He was the highest priced player, just like he is this year. He was 18%. Cantlay was 35%, and Cam Young was 23%, and they were all in the 10K, and they all finished top 1, 2, 3 in DK scoring. So, like, last year, 100% that chalk hit. So you kind of had to eat it, and they were the best players in the field, head and shoulders, like we kind of have this week.
But before last week,
I know where you're going.
Come on, we can put Hubs in here, can't we?
Are
we that? I mean, it wasn't. It's he shot 269.
I know.
It wasn't that terrible.
Can we do something? Oh, we only got 2 minutes. Hold on. Let me just see. Can we just do something? I just want to look at his round 2. He made 3 bogeys, 4 birdies. Round 1. God, he just made he made a ton of birdies. I mean, he made 4 birdies in round 1, and he made 4 birdies in round 2, 6 in round 1. He didn't have any blow-up holes.
Spots, but Chris Godwin was not in your plans to be drafted. Like, maybe you don't have a strong player take on Chris Godwin, or we're not like, my take is that I don't think the Bucs are going to be particularly good this year. But for him to be dropping, let's say,